Hello, smart drivers. Talking to you today about eight reasons that you potentially could fail your driver's test. I'm going to give you techniques, skills, and information to pass your driver's test first time. That's what we're talking about today. A few people are here. Evan is here. Hello, Mallory, tuning in from the Maritimes. Hello, my friend. How are you? And Maggie is going for a G2 test here in a few days. Excellent. And you've been practicing. Lots of practice getting you in preparation for your driver's test. That's exactly what you need to do, is get as much practice as possible before going in for your driver's test. Rawson is tuning in here from Ohio. Hello, my friend. And Elevator Fan tuning in from Monticello, Indiana. And yes, Elevator Fan and I are going to meet up in August on the 4th of August, 3rd of August, I believe it is, at 4th of August. Just trying to look at the dates here. I don't have the dates as clear as I should have. But in August. And remember to send me an email at Elevator Fan, and that way we can catch up. Okay, Maggie tuning in from Toronto. If you're tuning in, just let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what class of license you're going for, and we'll definitely help you out with passing your driver's test and being successful. That's what we do here, as well as helping you become a safer, smarter driver with smarter defensive driving and starting a career as a truck or bus driver. We can help you with all of that to be successful in your driving career. As well, know that other people are going to give you information about driving. Lots of people have opinions about driving. It's not always right. Okay, know that. Get the information that you need, the correct information about passing your driver's test, and we'll definitely help you out with that, because people have opinions about driving and it's not always right. All right, Elevator Fan, will you be in Fort Wayne in the morning? Will I be in Fort Wayne in the morning? No, I probably won't be there until late morning, early afternoon, because as I said, I'm leaving from Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, which is halfway between Milwaukee and Chicago, and I have to shoot a video in Chicago. So yeah, it's probably going to be early afternoon. Okay, Mallory, hello, my friend. We said hi. You might have missed it. Yeah, 3rd of August. You're probably right, Elevator Fan. But as I said, send me an email and we can meet up. Can't say hook up. That's the wrong language. We'll meet up there in Fort Wayne. And Rawson, can you fail your driver's test for missing your turn? No, you will not fail your driver's test for missing your turn. If you miss the directions of the examiner and you make a turn, it's the responsibility of the driving examiner to get you back on course. You will not fail for that. I mean, if you do it 3 or 4 times, then maybe, because you're not listening. But if you do it once, maybe twice, then you will be all right. Angel, tuning in from San Francisco. In my bed, do you have videos on 60 passenger buses, coaches? So you're going for a highway coach, school bus, or tour bus. I don't have videos on 60 passenger buses. However, we do have pre-trip inspection videos, which you're going to need to be able to pass your CDL license and to be successful on your driver's test. But I can give you information on that. I did drive coaches for Greyhound when I was in Australia, and have experience with that, so I can definitely help you out with any questions you might have about that. Lightning, watching from Tampa Bay, taking the test in 2 days, and you're going to be awesome there in Tampa, my friend. In Florida, I suspect it is really toasty. Nice and warm there in Florida. It's definitely hot here in the interior of British Columbia where I live currently. It's supposed to be 39 degrees Celsius, which I don't know, is like probably 110 degrees Fahrenheit. It is really, really smoking hot here. Just under 4 weeks until we meet up. Yes, Elevator Fan, it's crazy how fast time is going and what we're doing here. So we're talking about passing your driver's test, what you need to do, 8 reasons that you potentially could fail. The first thing that you need to know, and the first thing that you need to learn, if you don't know it already, is what is on your driver's test. There are only 3 states, California, Ohio, and Maryland, that I know of that don't do parallel parking. Every other state, you have to do parallel parking, 3-point turns, and backing into a parking spot at minimum. Okay, in the state of Ohio, it's the Ohio Maneuverability Test. And right now, here at Smart Drive Test, I have redone the Ohio Maneuverability Test for 2024. And as well, I have put a course together on the Ohio Maneuverability Test for those of you that might want more information about that. And I've done it with the buggy, my 1998 Honda CR-V, which is approximately 15 feet long. I did it with a minivan, which is 17 feet long. And then I did it with a pickup truck, which is approximately 20 feet long. It's a crew cab, Dodge 1500. So lots of information there on being successful on the Ohio maneuverability test for those of you who might need more information. And that course should be available here, I'm hoping, by the end of July. So we'll get going here. Jonas, watching from Edmonton, Alberta, doing the test in 4 hours. Your videos have been a huge help. Feeling very confident. Jonas, that is awesome. Good luck on your test. Remember to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Hold for 3 seconds. Do that. That'll cause your body to relax. Okay, so good luck on that. And drop back and let us know how it goes there in Edmonton. Angel, just need to remove the restriction. I got my commercial Class A with a 50 passenger vehicle. Okay, so you're just getting the endorsement so you can drive the bigger buses there in California. Awesome. Madi, Toronto, currently have my G2, going for my G in August. Failed the first time for going fast enough on, not going fast enough on the on-ramp. Any advice? Yes. Maddie, I'm just going to write myself a note here. I'm writing myself a note. After the presentation, I will put a link down in the description. But you need to, when you're looking for your space as you're coming out on the on-ramp, as you're coming out in the acceleration lane, you need to be looking at the traffic on the highway. Look at the spaces between the cars and aim, pick your spot, aim for that spot. And the golden rule of merging onto highway or freeway is always merge in behind a big truck. So if there's a semi truck out on the highway, always aim to merge in behind that big truck. Unless, I mean, you're out on the acceleration lane and you're right beside it, then you want to get your foot into it and get out in front of it. But for the most part, the golden rule is when you're learning how to merge out onto a highway or freeway, get in behind the semi trucks. Okay. The other video that I'm going to shoot while I'm going across the United States is I'm going to do 100 freeway merges in 10 states. Okay, I had more comments this morning about people, new drivers, talking about being in Texas, not in New York State, in Texas, and saying that they had cars that would not get up to speed by the end of the by the end of the acceleration lane, which is bunk. Okay, I mean, I have an old 1998 Honda CR-V which has 125 horsepower, and I can get it up to 50, 60 miles an hour by the end of the acceleration lane. The issue with new drivers is nobody has ever taught them how to put the accelerator right on the floor and the reaction that you're going to get from the car. So if you get an opportunity to get into a parking lot and do this, these aggressive applications of the steering wheel, the brake, and the accelerator, this is going to make you a safer, smarter driver, and it's going to help you to merge onto the interstate, because when you get out on the on-ramp, and the on-ramp becomes the acceleration lane, because there's two pieces. It's the on-ramp out onto the acceleration lane, and then on the acceleration lane. As soon as that straightens out and you got a straight shot, accelerator right to the floor as far down as you can push it and get that vehicle going. There is no excuse for you to be going slow out on the freeway in this day and age, okay? Most vehicles, even if you got a little 3-cylinder, is going to be at least 120 horsepower, which is more than enough to get that thing up to 50, 60 miles an hour, especially in the state of Texas, because they do not have any parkways. They do not have any short on-ramps. So it's about you. It's not about the equipment that you're using. It's not about the vehicle. You need to get your foot into it. You need to put the accelerator right to the floor. Look for your spot, aim for that spot, and merge into that spot out on the freeway. Maggie, so I'm going to be watching all those videos and probably do a few lessons with a driving instructor, and that will really help you out, my friend. Clint is here. Good evening, my friend. Angel, okay, freeway merges is going to be what I will be doing a lot of once I get my G2. Okay, Maggie. And the other piece about it is if you're going for your license test and you're concerned about freeways or merging onto the interstate, It's only if the test center is within close proximity to the highway, because most test centers are not anywhere near a highway, not anywhere near a freeway or an interstate. And if they're not going to take you out onto the highway or freeway. So figure that out before you get there. This is another piece in knowing what is on the test before you get there. Okay? Maggie, this is Toronto. There's only, I know there's freeways. There's the Gardiner Expressway, the 401, the 407. There's lots of places there in Toronto, but figure out where the test center is. If the test center is not within 5 minutes of driving of one of those freeways, they're not going to take you out on the freeway, because you keep in mind, the test is only 20 to 30 minutes. So therefore, you drive out 5 minutes, you get on the highway, you got to drive down to the next exit, which is another 5 minutes, and then you got to come back and you got to do your slow speed maneuvers. I'm not sure whether Ontario is still doing slow speed maneuvers because they suspended those for catching up after COVID, but you got to do your slow speed maneuvers and then you got to come back to the test center. So that's 20 to 30 minutes there. So you have to, the test center has to be within 5 minutes of the interstate or freeway, or they are not going to take you on the highway at all, okay? But apparently they did in the last test that you took, and you were going too slow to get out onto the highway, and that's the reason you failed. So yes, then practice it. But for those, all the other beginner drivers who are practicing for their driver's test, figure out where your test center is and figure out how close it is to the highway, the interstate, or the freeway. Because if it's not within 5 minutes, they're not going to take you out there. They're not going to drive 20 minutes to the interstate so they can take you out on the interstate, all right? Timez, should I be doing the shoulder checks if I have one of those blind spot mirrors? Yes, you absolutely should, okay? Technology is just a backup. It's you still need to have good observation in place. Shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. Remember, not shoulder checking is to driving what not checking to see if a weapon is loaded is to gun safety, okay? All those observation technologies, backup cameras, convex mirrors, blind spot detectors, proximity sensors, they are all just a backup to good driving skills. And actually, I was having this conversation with my mom when she was here, and she was talking about people who have bought these new vehicles and have all these observation technologies in their vehicle, and they still manage to run into other things. Her neighbor, for example, I go home in the summertime and I sit in the garage, looking out at the world and watch the neighbor with his brand new Ford F-150 back into the driveway. And my mom told me that a few months ago, backed into the driveway and backed into the car in her driveway, even though he has all these sensors, backup cameras and whatnot. Good observation skills. Technology does not replace good driving skills, okay? So shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. Maggie, I'm not doing my G test at least a year though. Okay, so excellent. You got lots of time to practice. You're going to be great. All right. Clint, do you think nightly driving in the dark should be mandatory in lessons? Clint, I do. However, the issue with that, Clint, it's like so many things with learning how to drive. There simply isn't time, or you're not driving at the right time of the year. For example, learning how to drive in the wintertime. Most people avoid it like the plague, okay? Drivers, according to a poll I did here on the community tab on the Smart Drive Test website, are more terrified of driving in snow than they are in hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, forest fires. That doesn't scare them. Driving in the wintertime, people are terrified of driving in the wintertime, and they do not believe me when I tell them that it is easier to get your license in the wintertime. Take your driving test in the wintertime. People do not believe me. They will not believe me. That is a myth of driving, that driving is in the wintertime is treacherous. It's like so many things with driving. How many times do you drive in fog? I can't remember the last time I drove in fog. It's been a decade at least. How many times when was the last time I drove in deep snow? Can't remember the last time I drove in deep snow. It was years ago. So these things only happen every now and again, but in the mind and the consciousness of the driving public, they are huge. Absolutely huge, and people are terrified of it, even though it's not a reality of our everyday driving. Mallory, when you were driving, do you want to be looking at for your vehicle, where your vehicle is going? Yes, and looking far down the road. That'll keep your vehicle centered in the roadway. And as well, looking far down the road, having a 360-degree awareness completely around your vehicle, all that will allow you to interpret traffic patterns and understand the actions of individual road users along the roadway. Because you want to manage space in front of your vehicle, you want to have that 2 to 3 second following distance, which is absolutely mandatory on a driver's test. Stopping 1 vehicle length back from the vehicle in front of you when stopping in traffic, and minimum 3 feet 1 meter from vulnerable road users, pedestrians, cyclists, kids on e-scooters, those types of things. This morning I was driving, I was thinking about this because we're going out early to walk the dogs because it's so hot right now. And many people were out walking their dogs in the residential area, and of course they've got to move right over into the other lane. So mirror signal shoulder check when you're doing that. If you're taking your driver's test early in the morning at 8 or 9 o'clock and they take you into a residential area, you're going to have to get over and get lots of space between you and pedestrians so that you don't fail your driver's test. Weston, I failed my driver's test in a snowstorm. However, when I went back on a sunny day, I passed. Awesome. Yes. You get a bit of snow in the wintertime, you failed, but then you went back on a sunny day and you passed. So the point of that, exactly what Weston did, congratulations on passing your driver's test and being tenacious on doing it in the wintertime, is that 80-90% of the time in the wintertime, the roads are clear, everything's fine, you get good traction, because all the vehicles in this day and age are front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. There's very few rear-wheel drive vehicles anymore. So you're going to have great traction, and the roads are going to be clear and well sanded and plowed and those types of things in the wintertime. So you're going to be just fine taking your driver's test in the wintertime. Imagine I've been driving 2011 Toyota Sienna, so I don't even have those convenient technologies that all those modern vehicles have. In my opinion, it definitely makes you a better driver. Maggie, I completely agree. If you don't have all that technology, you become a safer, smarter driver. And I have an old 1998 Honda CR-V. It does not have all that technology on it. I rented a car when I was in Spain a couple of years ago. I rented a car in Australia last year, and they have all that technology on them. I don't like it. It's distracting. It's very distracting. And I just find it just distracts you from the driving task of the things that you really need to be doing. And unfortunately, too many people are growing up with this technology now and they're relying on it. Well, what happens if it breaks? Or you think, oh, it's going to save me, and all of a sudden you don't develop the habits and skills you need to keep yourself safe. How precise should I be with the speedometer on the driving exam, and should I only go 70 on the highway if traffic is going faster than that? Okay, 2 things, time. First, you have to do the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. Okay, do not keep up with the traffic flow on the roadways, because the traffic flow is always above the posted speed limit. If you do that, you will fail your driver's test. Second, your speed control is tied into your observation. So you're looking far down the road, check your center mirror, far down the road, check instrument panel, far down the road, check your side mirror, far down the road, check your other side mirror, and repeat that every 15 to 20 seconds. Every 15 to 20 seconds, you need to be adjusting your speed on your driver's test. If you don't adjust your speed every 15 to 20 seconds, it tells the examiner that you are not observing correctly for the purposes of your driver's test, and you will not be successful on your driver's test, okay? So, posted speed limit, flow of traffic, whichever is less for the purposes of your driver's test. All right, so let's get over to the presentation here, get through that. It's about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll spend the remainder of the hour answering your questions and helping you out to be successful on passing your driver's test first time. So today we're talking about 8 reasons you fail. First impressions. You don't get a second chance to make first impressions. So when you show up for your driver's test, if you're not going in a driving school car, be sure that you take your vehicle down, give it a clean, get all the fast food wrappers out of the footwell, give it a vacuum. That's all free at most car washes. The vacuums are free because they want you to come in and wash your vehicle. So first impressions, think about that. All right, sorry about that. Hopefully we're back. Yes, the stream died on me, unfortunately. I don't know what's going on this morning. Technology is not doing what I need it to do. There we go. Practice driving test. Check down in the description there. Pass your driver's test. Where will it take you? Where will your license take you? So get all the information that you need to be successful on your driver's test and pass first time. Check that down in the description. Head over to the Smart Drive Test website and look for that. All right. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauled freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States. And 1997 became a licensed commercial driving instructor. Most of my experience has been with big trucks and buses, logbooks, air brakes, those types of things. However, I've done a lot of instruction with cars as well. And of recent, I've had to learn a lot of information about two-way stop signs, four-way stop signs, and how to teach that information, because big trucks, 80% of what we teach for big trucks is all related to cars. Okay, only about 20% of it is larger vehicles. When I was living in Australia, I went to the University of Melbourne, graduated in 2006 with my degree in legal history, which is to study policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. Drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines there in Australia, and so I had bus experience as well. 2015, started the online YouTube channel, and it has been wildly more successful than I could have imagined. Have a look at this playlist. Must-see videos to pass your driver's test. You can check that out down in the description there. These videos, okay, chance events on a driver's test that you may not have trained for. Emergency vehicles, yes. If you're training in New York City or Los Angeles, California, then yes, emergency vehicles are going to be part and parcel of your training every day. If you are in Duluth, Minnesota, or Kelowna, British Columbia, it's not likely that you're going to encounter emergency vehicles. So you're going to have to know how to deal with that. Most common mistakes on a driver's test, have a look at that video as well. And those will definitely help you out to be successful in passing your driver's test first time. Okay, primary controls, number 8. The number 8 reason that you will fail your driver's test. You don't have good mastery of the primary controls. The steering wheel, the brake, and the accelerator. If you're in Europe or you're brave enough to learn how to drive with a manual car, then it's the clutch as well. Your turns are too wide and you wander in your lane and you're not centered. It simply tells the examiner that you do not have enough experience in driving to be successful in passing your road test first time. Okay, lane positioning. Yes, you have to move to the right lane after turning left on a multi-lane road. The examiner will not tell you to do this. You need to do this on your own. And the reason for that, every state, every province has a rule that slower traffic move right. Okay, so you are going to be the slower traffic by the very fact that you are doing the posted speed limit. So move back to the right lane. When turning on multi-lane roads, right lane to right lane, left lane to left lane, merging, changing lanes, moving the vehicle laterally, signal, shoulder check every time you change directions of the vehicle. Communicate effectively with other traffic and emergency vehicles. As I said, you must come to a stop every time there is an emergency vehicle. And as Maggie just says, yes, Toronto too has emergency vehicles all the time. So it's something that is part and parcel of your training. But if you're in a smaller community, it's not going to be so much part of your training, and it could potentially catch you out on a driver's test. Okay, being too cautious on a driver's test is as bad as driving too fast and speeding. Okay, so don't drive namby-pamby. Go if the gap presents itself. And of course, this is something that is experiential. You need to get experience driving to be able to do this so that you don't drive too cautious. And I have had smart drivers over the years come back and say to me, oh, I was being cautious and going slow. And unfortunately, that is as dangerous as going too fast and speeding and driving reckless. Observation, shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. And I did have the question about relying on observation technology, proximity sensors, backup cameras, blind spot detectors. No, these are a backup to good driving skills. Not shoulder checking is to driving, what checking, not checking to see if a weapon is loaded is to gun safety. And if you don't know what that means, look up Alec Baldwin. Okay, you need to be looking far down the road, monitor your gauges, looking in your center mirror to figure out what's behind you, because if you come up on a yellow light, for the purposes of a driver's test, a yellow and red light mean the same thing. If you can safely do so, bring your vehicle to a stop. Checking your mirrors regularly, having a scanning pattern in place that repeats itself every 10 to 15 seconds. Road signs. Action contrary to a road sign will cause you to fail your driver's test. Know that. Lane ends, stop signs. Know the difference between two-way and four-way stop sign intersections and how to deal with those different intersections. And with four-way stop sign intersections, new drivers get really obsessed about what if four vehicles arrive at the intersection at the same time. It never happens. It never happens, okay? It is a pointless exercise. It's kind of like arguing about the difference between standard brakes and ABS brakes on vehicles. There hasn't been a vehicle in the last 25 years that hasn't been fitted with ABS brakes, so there's no point arguing about whether standard brakes or ABS brakes stop you in a shorter distance, all right? And as Maggie says, yes, shoulder checking is so important. Unfortunately, it is the first skill that drivers lose after getting their license. You watch experienced drivers going down the roadway, not experienced drivers, but you watch drivers who have had their license for a period of time, and they make a turn, they don't shoulder check. They don't shoulder check, and it is dangerous. And we know as drivers that you're going to get in a crash once every 15 to 17 years, which is about 3 to 4 times in a 30 to 40 year driving career. So develop the safe driving habits that are going to keep you safe. Maybe not today, tomorrow, next month, next year, in 5 years, but in 8 years, shoulder checking may prevent you from hitting a cyclist or a pedestrian or another vulnerable road user along the roadway. School zone signs. Yes, speeding in a school zone when school is in session is an automatic fail on a driver's test. Road markings. Pay attention to road markings. Crossing a solid white line on a driver's test in North America will accumulate demerit points. And you want to have as few demerit points as you can have for the purposes of passing your driver's test. Striking a fixed object. Oftentimes there are fences or concrete barriers behind where you're going to back into the parking space. If you strike that barrier, that concrete barrier, that is an automatic fail on your driver's test. Slow speed maneuvers. As I said, California, Ohio, and Maryland are the only states that you don't have to do parallel parking. Every other state you have to do parallel parking, okay? And province you have to do parallel parking. Now, most new drivers go and get their learner's permit. They let the 6 months or 1 year tick over, and then 6 to 8 weeks before their test, they get in the car and they start driving. Unfortunately, this is completely backwards. They get in, they start driving, and then 2 days before their test, they go and start doing parallel parking and 3-point turns and the other slow speed maneuvers that they need to be doing. This is backwards. When you start learning how to drive, get in the car, go to a parking lot, do your 3-point turns, you're backing into a parking space and you're parallel parking. Doing that will accelerate your learning and make you a safer, smarter driver faster, because slow speed maneuvers will teach you mastery of the primary controls, and they will teach you where your vehicle is in space and place. So when you get out on the roadway, you will have a better understanding of the vehicle than if you just get in and drive it forward. Because as an old truck driver said to me years and years ago when I was learning how to drive truck, any monkey can get in the vehicle and point it straight down the roadway. It's the slow speed maneuvers, the 3-point turns, backing into a parking space, parallel parking. Those are the maneuvers of driving a vehicle that separate the good drivers from the bad drivers or the mediocre drivers. You don't want to be a mediocre driver. You want to be a good driver, and you don't want to strike a fixed object on a road test, because that is an automatic fail. If you hit a pylon doing the Ohio maneuverability test or parallel parking between cones, this is an automatic fail on a driver's test. So practice those so that you're successful in passing first time. Dangerous actions. This will cause you to fail your driver's test first time. Blocking an intersection you can't clear. If you drive into the intersection, not on a left-hand turn, this is proceeding straight through, the light turns yellow into red, you will fail your driver's test. Backing at an intersection, do not back up. If you come to a stop at a yellow light and you're beyond the stop line, do not back up. Just stay there. Yes, I know it's embarrassing that pedestrians are walking around you, but don't back up. If the examiner intervenes in the test by either putting the transmission into neutral or taking hold of the steering wheel, that is an automatic fail on the test. If other drivers have to take evasive action to avoid you because you misjudged the gap or whatnot, that too is an automatic fail. So know that these are the pieces of the test that you need to have in place to be successful first time. Okay, I don't know what's on the test. You don't know that at the test center that you're going to be taking your test that they parallel park between cones, and you didn't practice parallel parking between cones. You're not going to be successful on your test. So the first thing you need to do is figure out what are the requirements at your test center, and practice in and around the test center at the time that you're going to be taking your test. If your test is at 10 a.m. on a Thursday, practice during the week in and around the test center at 10 o'clock. Figure out where the school zones are. Figure out where the parks are. Figure out where the residential areas are, churches, those types of things. What kind of traffic you're going to be dealing with. All this is going to give you the skills, techniques, and abilities you need to be successful in passing your driver's test first time. Okay? If you haven't taken driver training with a local school, hire a driving instructor to take you out for a practice driving test, which is an enormous investment in your preparation for the driver's test, because luck favors the prepared, right? And a local driving instructor will take you on the test route, will take you and you will get you to do the maneuvers where the examiner will get you to do the maneuvers, and they will give you feedback on the skills that you need to improve to be successful in passing your driver's test first time. All right, pass your driver's test first time course package over at the Smart Drive Test website. As well, we throw in the winter and defensive driving smart courses. Have a look at that for down in the description to be successful. Good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. All right, Maggie, this is every G2 test video that I've seen is this reason. Yes, one of the reasons why you will fail your driver's test is because the driving examiner had to intervene. Yes, absolutely. If you're going on a left-hand turn and there isn't sufficient gap for you to make the left-hand turn without being T-boned by the oncoming traffic, and the driving examiner intervenes, that is an automatic fail on your driver's test. And I've had that happen with students where I said to them, hey, don't go, or, pop the transmission into neutral. That is me intervening. And on a driver's test, on a driving lesson, that is the place to fall down, okay, to learn these things that potentially could fail you on a driver's test. Now, one of the points that I didn't mention is there are two ways to potentially fail a driver's test, okay? Demerit points and automatic fails. Your assigned demerit points for errors that you make in your driving. If you make minor errors, you're assigned 5 to 10 points. If you make major errors, it's 10 to 20 points. So minor error might be you failed to signal and you got 5 points off, or you didn't come to a complete stop at a stop sign intersection, you got 10 points. If you get 35 demerit points on most driver's tests, that's a fail on a driver's test and you weren't successful. So you want to try and minimize the number of demerits you get when you're driving on your test. 10 to 20 points if you make a right-hand turn on a multi-lane road and then you drift over into the left lane. That could be 15 to 20 points, and you will only get 2 or 3 of those, and you're going to fail your driver's test. An automatic fail on a driver's test is doing something dangerous. Not stopping for an emergency vehicle is an automatic fail. Speeding in a school zone is an automatic fail on a driver's test. Driving straight through an intersection on a yellow light and the driving examiner looks up and sees the light turn red, that's running a red light, and that is an automatic fail on a driver's test. So 2 ways you could potentially fail a driver's test: too many demerits, points assigned to you, or automatic fail on a driver's test. You strike a fixed object, you hit the concrete barrier at the back of the parking space when you're backing in. That is an automatic fail on a driver's test. Epic, I wonder why do other drivers fail at the first test course and then go take it at a different site and pass it? From what I've heard was instead of Randolph, site take it at Trenton. And yes, Epic, there is a lot of misinformation about different test sites. And the piece of information is what new drivers don't understand is that traffic is dynamic. So they went and took it at one test center and they thought that the driving examiner was being unfair. So the piece of information that they don't know is if you are unsuccessful on your driver's test and you go back to the same test center, it's unlikely, very low percentage, that you will get the same examiner again. They will always try and assign you a different driving examiner to be fair and objective. Second is traffic is always changing. You could go out and do 10 driver's tests on 10 different days on the same route, and the traffic will be different every time that you go out. So it may have been that they went to Randolph, did their driver's test there, and they failed because everything went wrong in the traffic situation. And then they went to the other site, the Trenton site, and the traffic was fine. Everything went swimmingly well. And this is the reality of taking a driver's test. Sometimes drivers who are prepared and did all the work that they need to do were not going to be successful because everything went wrong in the driving environment. Okay? However, drivers that are not very well prepared and you think to yourself, oh, they shouldn't pass their driver's test, but everything goes right in the driving environment when they're out taking their test and they're successful on passing their driver's test. So it depends on the traffic in and around where the test center is and what time of day it is and what happens. Okay, it's not the test center, right? So know that, know what's on your driver's test, practice in and around the test center at the time that you're taking your test, and in addition to that, know what's on your test at the test center where you're going to be taking your test. For example, if they parallel park between cones, oftentimes they will leave the cones out at the test center so you can go in after hours and on weekends and practice. Okay, don't go in during business hours because that's against professional code of conduct. As well, excuse me, you can go into the test center after hours and on weekends and practice backing into the parking spots. Most DMVs will have a test center, they'll have a parking lot, and in that parking lot they will have reserved parking for the drivers that are taking a test, so you can park there. Imagine using your own vehicle for the G2 test, the same one that I've been practicing, no dual brakes, so hopefully the examiner doesn't complain. Imagine they're not going to complain. They get people with personal vehicles in all the time, okay? And I don't believe in that stuff anyway, controls for the instructor. My opinion is if you as the instructor need to use the brake when you're training, you didn't communicate effectively with the student, okay? You shouldn't have to do that. I mean, you can just put the transmission into neutral and you can take hold of the steering wheel and you can control the vehicle enough without having controls on your side of the vehicle. I don't agree with them. I don't like them. I don't think that they're needed. Miss Dill, I am relearning to drive in a Dodge Caravan. It is very long and I can't get comfortable with it. I think I will rent a car for a few days before my driver's test. Miss Dill, it's always better to take the driver's test in the vehicle that you're practicing in. You can get used to it. I mean, the minivan, the Grand Caravan, is only 2 feet longer than a mid-sized sedan like a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic. It's really not that much because I have a minivan here. It's a Pontiac, Montana. It's only 2 feet longer than my Honda CRV, my 1988 Honda CRV. So it's not that much longer. It is bigger. It's a little, it takes a bit more. But what I would suggest to you with your Grand Caravan, go down to the parking lot, get some pylons, and do some of the beginner exercises. And what I'll do after the presentation here is I will put some of those beginner videos down in the description to give you some exercises that you can do in the parking lot, and that will help you out with driving the minivan. Elevator fan failure to yield right of way is an automatic fail on a driver's test. Yes, if you don't give right of way, you make a left-hand turn and you don't give way to oncoming traffic, yes, that's going to be an automatic fail on a driver's test. Sergeant, those things are huge minivans. No, they're really not. They're really not. My mate has a Ford F-150 and it's 21 feet long. It's 4 feet longer than a minivan. So a pickup truck is even more colossal. And as I said, I am working on a Ohio maneuverability course which is a rectangle 9 feet by 20 feet long, and then another 20 feet out there's a nose cone. And I did it with a pickup truck that's 20 feet long. So you can learn how to do it, okay? Minivans are not huge, okay? It can be done, all right? You can drive the minivan, you can do it. But again, I come back to the slow speed maneuvers, working in the parking lot, backing into parking spaces, getting some of those 1 meter, 3 feet tall delineators. You can rent them from any industrial rental equipment shop. Go to the parking lot, drive straight forward, drive back, drive up along the cones, put them in a line, do forward figure eights, do reverse figure eights, and all that will help you out with getting used to the minivan and driving the minivan, okay? Because you can do it. You just need to learn some skills, all right? You need to do those slow speed maneuvers because it will teach you mastery of the primary controls, the steering wheel, the brake, and the accelerator. And it will teach you where the vehicle is in space and place. Where is it in relation to other things? And it's better to hit a pylon than it is to hit another car or a fixed object out on the roadways because you didn't do the work you needed to do at the beginning by learning where the vehicle is in space and place and learning mastery of the primary controls, right? Yes. Okay? Practice. Practice makes perfect. No, perfect practice makes perfection, okay? Yes, you need to practice, but you need to practice the right things. And the thing that you need to practice is your 3-point turns, your parallel parking, driving into a parking lot, backing into a parking space. Because you want, when you're first learning how to drive and you're learning how to drive a bigger vehicle, a little bit bigger vehicle, the thing you want to do is you want to just be able to focus on that vehicle. You don't want to be having to focus on other traffic. So if you can go and do that in a parking lot somewhere, that is going to help you out to just focus on the vehicle that you're driving and doing those maneuvers. So that way you can go out on the roadway and you don't need to be thinking about, oh, how much do I need to turn the steering wheel to go around the corner? You just know that. All right. And perhaps one of the things that I should do while I have the van here is I should go and do some videos on doing some of these maneuvers with the van and whatnot so I can help you out so you can learn how to do it with a bigger vehicle. Maggie, Toyota Sienna is a minivan too. During my first few hours driving that, even I had trouble. Now I'm pretty much mastered it and have high hopes of passing my G2 using it. Yes, I think you're going to do just fine, Maggie. The Siennas are the same size as the Montana. I suspect it's about 17 feet long. What's that? 3, 4, 5. It's about 5 meters. 5 times 39 inches, whatever that is. Can't convert it into metric. I can do it in imperial, which is about 17 feet. So yeah, you just need to practice. You need to get used to the vehicle. And I think, you're going to be just fine with the Sienna and any other minivan, because I know that it is a common vehicle for a lot of families to have the minivan. So you're going to do just fine with that. But do those slow speed maneuvers. Spend the time backing into parking lots. Driver's test, reasons that I see it right outside. Awesome. So the reason, 4 components that you need to pass your driver's test to be successful: space management, speed management, observation, communication. Space management, okay? 2 to 3 second following distance behind other traffic. Stopping back in traffic 1 vehicle length. Your landmark for that is being able to see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement. 3 feet, 1 meter from vulnerable road users, pedestrians, cyclists, kids on e-scooters, those types of things. If you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. Stopping at the correct stopping position at controlled intersections, before the stop line, before the sidewalk or crosswalk. If those 2 conditions don't exist, then at the edge of the road just before entering the intersection. Space management, speed management, flow of traffic or posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. Communication, you need to communicate effectively with other traffic. The number one way that we communicate with other traffic is the position of our vehicle on the roadway or the position of the road user. For example, if the vehicle is in the left turning lane, there's a high probability that vehicle is going to turn left. If the pedestrian is standing near the crosswalk, there's a high probability that pedestrian is going to cross the roadway. So, communication. Lights and signals. eye contact, hand gestures, use all 5 fingers. Don't tell somebody they're number 1 on a driver's test. And then finally, using the horn. Use the horn sparingly as a form of communication, because in North America, it's seen as a sign of aggression. Communication, observation. You have to have a forward scanning pattern in place, looking far down the road. In, check your center mirror, far down the road. In, check your instrument panel, far down the road. In, check your side mirror, and then down the road and check your other side mirror, okay? Observation. Shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. Every time you change directions of the vehicle, every time you turn. And you need to move your head when you're driving. Your eyes don't move enough in your skull to be able to observe correctly when you're driving. So you got to move your head, okay? And sometimes you got to move forward, you got to move your body, because there's a blind spot created by the A pillar, that piece of the car that holds the windshield in on either sides, or the B pillar behind you here, which is the post coming down behind the driver's door. And I drove a pickup truck the other day. I borrowed my mate's pickup truck, and the B pillar created a huge blind spot when I was shoulder checking, which kind of unnerved me a little bit, but it did have convex mirrors on the vehicle, so that helped out too. So shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. And when reversing, complete awareness around the vehicle, 360 degrees check. Checking your mirrors. You have to look out through the back window when you're reversing for the purposes of your driver's test. You can use your mirrors. You can use a backup camera, but for the duration of the test, you need to be looking out through the back window. And I know on the Toyota Sienna, other minivans, smaller cars, you can't really see much out through the back window. But fake it till you make it. Do it for the purposes of the driver's test, okay? I know that for those of you in the Buckeye, if you are doing the Ohio maneuverability test, looking out through the back window really isn't going to help you out. You're going to have to learn how to use your mirrors to see the pylons and to be able to do that successfully and pass that. And as I said, there's a new video coming out. I will put down the Ohio maneuverability test videos that are currently up on the channel down in the description, so definitely have a look at that. Miss Dill, we have a golf course with a huge parking lot. Now I just need the cones. And as I said, Miss Dill, you can rent those cones, those 3-foot, 1 meter tall pylons from any industrial rental shop. Or you get the shorter pylons and then just put a stick in them, or, you know, a broomstick or those types of things. That's what I do. I have both. Evan, my friend, only wait in the intersection to turn left if there's a yellow box. Otherwise, stay behind the white line. By the way, you are... After you finish your turn, your signal usually goes off. The yellow box. Never seen the yellow box, Evan. Is there a particular state that has those? Because I've never seen them. Stephen, on a right turn, how much should you slow down to? Stephen, most right turns, it's going to be 8 to 12 miles an hour, depending on how sharp the turn is, okay? When you come up to the corner, some of the residential or suburban areas will be a square corner. The bigger intersections, multi-lane intersections and those types of things, it's called display, how much it's curved off. And the bigger the intersection, and it accommodates semi-trucks and large vehicles and those types of things, it will have a very large splay, okay? And on those with a bigger splay, you can go faster. But if it's a squared off corner, then you're going to have to slow down even more. So probably like 8 miles an hour. But on the bigger ones, you can go a bit faster. But again, it comes down to practice, getting in the parking lot, doing the slow speed maneuvers, figuring it, you know, getting mastery of the primary controls, the steering wheel, the brake, and the accelerator, and figuring out where your vehicle is in space and place. And that will teach you also how fast you can turn the vehicle, right? How fast you can be turning, how much you can be accelerating, how much you can be braking, and what the response is of the vehicle. So when you get out on the roadway, you don't have to be thinking about that. Excellent. Weston, you're most welcome, my friend. So happy that we can help out. So again, 2 ways that you could potentially fail a driver's test. Demerits, automatic fails on a driver's test. And the reality is that very few people fail outright on a driver's test, okay? That's just not what happens. Most people who fail a driver's test demerit out. They get too many points. If you have driver training, it's not likely you're going to fail your driver's test, okay? It's a very low percentage if you have driver training and an instructor has helped you out and given you feedback on your skills and abilities. Driving instructors teach people how to pass a driver's test every day. That's what they do. That's their job. Years ago, when I was working for the licensing department here in the province of British Columbia, they sent me down to the test center and sent me out on a road test. And the driving examiner, so another person was driving. It was a motorcycle test, so the driving examiner was sitting in the passenger seat, and they were explaining to me what they were doing and what they were looking for. And I kept saying, yeah, well, I didn't say it to them. I was just nodding and acknowledging what they were saying to me, but I was thinking to myself during the whole drive, I was thinking, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. I know that. Because that's my job. My job is to know what you're looking for and what you're testing for, and training students that they can be successful on passing a road test. That is my job. My job is to get them past you, because the driving examiners are the gatekeepers. They're the people that determine whether you pass or fail. And our job as driving instructors, those people you hire to teach you how to drive and pass a driver's test, that's what we do. We teach you how to get past the driving examiner, the gatekeeper. So your job on a driving test is to demonstrate to the examiner that you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. Okay? Because traffic is changing all the time. We had this discussion about different test centers. Some students are convinced that it's easier at one test center as it is another test center. No, it's not. It's just the traffic that happened on that occasion when you went and took your driver's test. And then afterwards, it becomes the myth or misinformation that it's easier to take your driver's test at this test center, when in fact it's not. And as I said, if you fail your driver's test and you go back to the same test center, you're not going to have the same examiner again. They always try and put you with a different driving examiner so that the test is fair and objective as much as possible. The driving examiner's job is to assess your ability to drive the vehicle and have control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. Your job is to take away the driving examiner's right to fail you. Nothing less, nothing more. That's what you need to do to be successful on passing your driver's test first time. Miss Dill, you have taught me so much. Thanks for taking the time to help so many people. You are most welcome, Miss Dill. It's what we do here, and it's really awesome when students come back, smart drivers come back, and they say, hey, you really helped me out, because that's what fills my bucket. That's really awesome when we can help out and give you the information to be successful on passing your driver's test first time. And again, on the other note of this, that I will just reiterate for new drivers who are getting their license, they're getting their learner's permit, the time is ticking over, they're learning how to drive, okay? As I said, new drivers make the mistake of getting their learner's permit, the time ticks over, 6 to 8 weeks before their test, they get in the vehicle and they start learning how to drive, okay? If you can get as much practice as possible in that year or 6 months or however long that you have your learner's permit, it's going to make you a better, safer driver when you come to driving, okay? If you can get in the car with your neighbor, if you can get in the car with your uncle, your dad, your mom, your brother, anybody else that will potentially let you drive in that period of time that you have your learner's license, it's going to make you more confident when you come to actually taking your test and getting in the car with the driving examiner, because everybody has a different opinion about driving. And they're going to want you to do different things, all right? So if you get in the vehicle with a whole bunch of different people and you drive with these different people, by the time the examiner gets in your vehicle, you're going to be like, oh, okay, it's just another person in the car with me. Now, as I said, most people wait 6 to 8 weeks before their actual test, before they start learning how to drive. And they get in the car and they drive up and down the road and they don't do any slow speed maneuvers. And they wait until 1 or 2 days before their driving test to practice the slow speed maneuvers, the parallel parking, the 3-point turn, the backing into a parking space, which is backwards of what you should be doing, okay? You should be focusing on the 3-point turns, the parallel parking, and the backing into a parking spot first. Those should be the first things that you're learning how to do, because it will accelerate your learning. It will give you mastery of the primary controls, and it will teach you where your vehicle is in relation to other things along the roadway. You will learn to drive faster and you will become a better driver. You will be a safer, smarter driver. So do that, learn how to do that, and that will help you out to become a better driver and significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash after you get your license. Elevator fan, visibility will be reduced in fog, heavy rain, snow, overcast, all those types of things. Absolutely. Maggie, the first driving instructor that I had was terrible. However, I believe my lack of driving skill probably made her mad. The second driving instructor I had was better, and that is awesome, Maggie. Now, if your lack of driving skill is making the instructor upsetting the driving instructor, yes, you definitely need to get a different driving instructor, because isn't that the instructor's job, is to teach you how to drive regardless of your level of ability? At least that's the way that I look at it. My job is to teach you how to drive regardless of your ability. Okay, and I'll put up Kayla's videos down in the description there. And Kayla, actually, now that we're talking about minivans, she learned how to drive in a minivan. She was driving a Grand Caravan, and I taught her how to drive, and she passed her driver's test first time. So we'll put those down in the description, and you can have a look at that. Stephen, any tips on how to parallel park uphill and downhill? Stephen, are you talking about parallel parking, or are you talking about hill parking? Those are two different things. Miss Dill, I'm in Ontario, so I can hire a driving instructor without taking the full course. Yes, you should be able to just have an hour or so with a driving instructor, and they'll give you some feedback and on your skills and abilities in preparation for the test. So, Kayla, I'll put that up, and as I said, she was learning how to drive a minivan, and she was doing parallel parking, backing into a parking space, and those types of things. So, your job, demonstrate to the examiner you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. The driving examiner, your job is to take away his or her right to fail you. Get as much practice as you can. Slow speed maneuvers, don't leave them to the last day or two, okay? Because 7/8 of the driver's test is in a forward motion. 1/8 is the slow speed maneuvers. It's that 1/8 of the driver's test that gives students the most grief, because they don't practice it. They don't do it. It's not sexy. I know it's not sexy, all right? But you need to do it, okay? And the way to learn how to drive is focus on those slow speed maneuvers first, and you'll become a safer, smarter driver in preparation for your driver's test. Number one reason drivers fail their test is because they don't know what is expected of them at the test center where they're going to be taking their test, okay? They don't know that they have to parallel park between cones. They don't know where the schools are. They don't know where the school speed zones are. They don't know what it's like to back into the parking space at that test center, because it might be on a bit of a hill and you have to give it a bit of throttle to get up into that parking space. There's concrete barriers behind it, or a fence, or those types of things. So practice in and around the test center at the time when your test is. If your test is at 10 a.m. on Thursday, practice on weekdays at 10 a.m. Go into the test center and practice backing into the parking spaces and doing the other things you need to do after hours and on weekends, okay? Don't go in during the day, because they're doing tests and they're working in there, and that's against the professional code of conduct. So weekends, after hours, those types of things, and that will keep you safe and help you to be successful in passing your driver's test first time. Maggie, is it okay to turn on a yellow-red when you're already in the intersection while waiting for oncoming traffic to pass if you were in the first line? Yes, it is, okay? If you're waiting, you're committed to the left-hand turn and the light turns yellow, start driving straight into the intersection. And again, I'll put up the video down in the description for you on left turns, and that will show you how to do that successfully. Where new drivers get into trouble on left-hand turns is the light turns yellow and they hesitate. They don't move, okay? Once the light turns yellow, because you're sitting there waiting for the left-hand turn, you're watching the light, you're watching oncoming traffic, you're watching the pedestrians on the cross street. The light turns yellow, you need to drive straight forward into the intersection, and when you're sure, double, triple check that oncoming traffic has come to a stop, then you turn, okay? But new drivers get into trouble and fail on yellow lights on left-hand turns because they hesitate and they pause, and that's not what you need to do to be successful. Miss Dill, any advice on how to know how far away from you are from the curb? That is practice. Okay? Practice, practice, practice. Usually, if you are behind the vehicle in front of you, you are going to be within 12 to 15 inches of the curb. But again, it's going to be practice doing those slow speed maneuvers, backing into a parking space, 3-point turns, forward figure eights, and those types of things All that is going to help you out. And again, look down in the description. I'll put all those videos down. As soon as we finish up here, that'll be the first thing that I do. So leave it there for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for your questions. Great live stream. If you have any questions, leave a comment down in the comment section. Hit that thumbs up button. If you passed your driver's test in the last week or two, congratulations. You have a test coming up in the next week or so. Good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now.